In this lecture, I will provide a quick assessment of the effectiveness and potentialities of national innovation systems in the Asia-Pacific. I will try to formulate some preliminary policy suggestions aimed at perfecting the region's overall innovation strategy. As an illustrative strategy, my approach will focus particularly on the evolving relationship between China's national innovation system and the Asia-Pacific region, with some references to Japan, Korea, Taiwan, India, Thailand, and Indonesia. It will be argued that while the policy challenges for regional cooperation are far from trivial for Asia, strengthening the national innovation system and the various sub-regional systems with a view to building up a broad-based and inclusive regional innovation system for the Asia-Pacific region can be a substantive area of enhancing economic integration in the Asia-Pacific region. Conceptually, I will present an enhanced view of national innovation system for creating inclusive growth. The word inclusive is really most important here. I call this new model of regional innovation an augmented national innovation system. The attempt to build an augmented national innovation system is one conceptually and practically sound approach towards enhancing economic integration in the Asia-Pacific region. The approach is developed following the general theory of complex adaptive socio-economic systems. The economies and the political economy of building regional innovation systems for enhancing economic integration in the Asia-Pacific region cannot be discussed properly without generally understanding the economics of research and development and innovation in complex adaptive socio-economic systems within the system of modern nation states in our world. In a national context, treating innovations in specific sectors, for example, the information and communications technology sectors, as part of the techno-economic paradigm embedded in the nation-state system requires viewing the innovation process within a national innovation system and sectoral innovation subsystems as a start. The key to understanding the economics of innovation, particularly in the dynamic information and communications technology, biotechnology, nanotechnology, and other knowledge-intensive sectors in a regional and global context, is to realize that a disequilibrium process has set in within the world economy. And the national economies and the national innovation systems, including their subsectoral innovation systems, are parts of this disequilibrium process globally. During this process, the gap between the advanced countries of the world and most of the rest is widening. This is the bad news. This disequilibrium process naturally is leading to rapid economic changes in the direction of even a greater unevenness in the global political economy. These changes include intersectoral shifts towards the information and communications technologies, other high technology and knowledge sectors, changing skill requirements, high volatility of wages, profits, and financial variables, and consequent increase in uncertainty about the future states of the national economies and the global political economy as a complex system. The dynamics of this disequilibrium process must be studied through methods of understanding complexity. Clearly, our knowledge of such dynamic systems is still in its infancy, but much can be learned by studying some known features. In the last 20 years, the frontiers of economics have moved far beyond the standard models of decreasing or constant returns, where costs cannot be decreased beyond a certain point unless factor markets behave in a peculiarly decreasing marginal cost fashion. Leaving the perfectly competitive world behind, economists at the frontiers of their discipline have been focusing on increasing returns to scale, economies of scope, and network externalities. The world of high technology in general and the ICT and knowledge sectors in particular are characterized much better through these approaches than the old perfectly competitive models. Many models of imperfect competition have also been developed to study interesting and relevant phenomena such as R&D rivalry and R&D expenditures. The upshot of these developments is that economists at the frontiers of their discipline are much closer to understanding many aspects of the digital economy than they were 10 years ago. I want to illustrate this point by discussing a recently developed theoretical approach within the context of national innovation system and sub-sectoral innovation systems in an uneven world economy. The policy implications for the development of new technologies are quite striking. The national innovation system can be broadly defined as the intersectoral flow of technology and information in the economy, including households and individuals, productive enterprises, and various institutions, including both public and private educational and R&D institutions. All these can form a network which, under appropriate circumstances, can generate a self-sustaining innovative process on the national level. According to this approach, which I generally follow with some modifications described later, technological development requires a system of well-functioning institutional networks, and such development, when it occurs, results from this complex system of relationships among different groups of actors who respond to appropriate policies and incentives in the socio-economic system. Most advanced countries are already societies with highly evolved national innovation systems and sectoral and sub-sectoral innovation systems. Some newly industrialized economies in the Asia-Pacific region like China, India, Korea, and Taiwan are developing such national innovation systems and sectoral and sub-sectoral innovation systems with various degrees of success. Many poor economies are far behind. This is an example of what I mean by the unevenness of the global economy and globalization as an uneven process. My previous work on national innovation systems and regional innovation systems on the requirements of technical progress shows that we need both a deeper understanding of the disequilibrium processes at work leading towards multiple equilibria and the economic implications of the complexities of production and distribution aspects of new technologies. It is with a view towards capturing these complexities leading towards multiple equilibria that an alternative conceptualization of technology systems transition in terms of an augmented national innovation system has been formulated by some economists. In addition to capturing both equilibrium and disequilibrium features of technological transitions, this broad approach can illuminate distributional issues as well. Since poverty alleviation remains on the agenda of the national governments of many Asian developing countries and of the international development agencies, it can be argued that from this perspective at least, the new approach has obvious relevance for the developing countries. But clearly, such distributional considerations are of importance in the advanced countries in Asia and elsewhere as well. The key results for policy purposes can be described shortly, but first let us take a closer look at the concept itself and see how it can be applied to specific technologies and national innovation system in a particular Asian country. From here on, I wish to highlight the fact that my framework can be viewed as simply a variety of augmented national innovation system and its various subsystems, and therefore I will be using the more general term from now on, which also has the virtue of maintaining intellectual continuity with national innovation system and at the same time augment the range of the concept. One important extension captured in my formulation is the explicit consideration of both factorial and household income distributions, which interact in a causally reciprocal way with the technology systems. I want to take a specific example from a country which is much in the news and will be in the news, I suspect, for a considerable period. This is the People's Republic of China. The claim here is not that China has adopted an innovation system that is totally different, but rather that there is finally some official recognition in China that issues related to distribution and the maintenance of reasonably harmonious social relations cannot be completely neglected in an overall development strategy, including the strategy for innovation in China. China's augmented national innovation system has witnessed remarkable advances since the early 1980s. As a result of a series of reforms aimed mainly at improving its effectiveness and closing the excessive gap which traditionally separated university-based research activities from the technology absorption and innovation needs of the enterprises system. The main thrust of reforms has been to diversify the country's augmented national innovation system and to strengthen its market orientation or market compatibility. But the role of centrally managed large long-term research programs has also been enhanced. This is not a point that seems to have been grasped, especially by analysts in Western Europe and the United States. Chinese reforms, along with the ever-expanding availability of financial resources made possible by economic growth and by the strong role of the national state, have allowed China to achieve remarkable advances. This has also led to the prospects for deeper integration with other Asia-Pacific economies through both international trade, investment, and joint technological and infrastructural projects. Several organizational and institutional structures which proved their validity in the context of developed market economies are also being studied, experimented with, and in some cases adopted in China. But such a pragmatic approach does not amount to an attempt to ape Western examples. The most visible change in China's augmented national innovation system is probably the progressive shift of the bulk of R&D activities away from universities and specialized research centers and towards industrial enterprises. However, universities participate in many of the most ambitious basic research endeavors and often play a crucial role in their implementation. For instance, universities carry out about 1/3 of the 863 projects and 2/3 of the projects funded by National Natural Science Foundation. Hu and Jefferson and Wu have documented this for the earlier part of the 21st century. In order to rebalance the roles of the different actors in the R&D scene in favor of the academia, the Chinese government is also earmarking an increasing volume of funds to elite universities, mainly through the Ministry of Education. Elite universities are expected to lead in national R&D programs and projects, facilitate technology diffusion and pullovers, promote spin-off companies, incubation centers, and open laboratories for R&D sharing to bridge in foreign technology and partners. This emphasis on the role of universities in engaging directly in the development, production, and commercialization stages of their research results have been dubbed forward engineering. According to Kyun Lee of Seoul National University, forward engineering is a peculiarly Chinese component of the Beijing Consensus, a comprehensive and proactive catch-up strategy very different from the Washington Consensus and partly, but not fully, similar to that followed before by other successful Asian latecomers such as Korea and Taiwan. Among other initiatives, a very important one was Project 211, aimed at funding the construction of campuses and developing new academic programs in key scientific areas all over the country during the 1996 to 2005 year plan period. Other programs promote specifically university-industry links. The first one of this kind was launched jointly in 2001 by the State Economic and Trade Commission, or SETC, and the Ministry of Education. The goal of this program was to set up state technology transfer centers in 6 universities in order to promote the commercialization of technological achievements. After a long debate that concluded with the official position that universities have a threefold mission: research, teaching, and commercialization, Ministry of Education issued another directive in 2002, encouraging the development of university start-up enterprises. Research and technological innovations are seen as crucial channels through which universities contribute to national and local economies. The bulk of China's R&D, however, is presently being carried out by the enterprises, many of which are large state-owned enterprises. China's large state-owned enterprises not only did not die out, but have managed so far to resist and even to thrive after over a quarter century of market-oriented structural changes in China. State-owned enterprises reforms were carried out in the framework of a complex, ever-changing, and opaque institutional environment, characterized by a weak and ambiguous, albeit increasing degree of protection of property rights in general and of intellectual property rights in particular. Shedding light on this apparent paradox, most studies on innovation among Chinese productive enterprises found that substantial progress was going on and that state-owned enterprises were capturing the bulk of science and technology resources, but exhibiting a less than satisfactory capability of translating them into true production improvements. The innovative capability of state-owned enterprises, however, appears to have been further enhanced in the mid-2000s, thanks at least partly to the economies of scale and scope made possible by the grasping of the big and enlivening the small policy. The combined profit of the 150 or so companies controlled by China's central government reached 1,000 billion renminbi, or 140 billion US dollars, more than 200% higher than 5 years earlier. By the end of 2007, the list of world's 10 most valuable companies contained 4 groups controlled by the Chinese state. The behavior of Chinese state-owned enterprises is also becoming more modern and effective in a number of areas, including their ability to attract top executive talents. In China, as elsewhere in the Asia Pacific, R&D expenditure is positive and significantly correlated with firm productivity. The contribution of government R&D to firm productivity works mainly through an indirect channel, via the promotion of firms' own R&D, which appears to be a more effective policy tool than direct R&D grants. Other key sources of production improvement and innovation growth are each firm's absorptive capacity, the production network, openness, and managers' education. Market-oriented, competition-enhancing innovation system reforms are improving the effectiveness of the incentive structure and fostering science and technology linkage activities. With respect to the impact of ownership type, state-owned enterprises perform worse than collective and private firms in terms of production performance, but not in terms of innovation capabilities grants. The choice of innovation types among Chinese state-owned enterprises depends on the turbulence in the environment and on the organizational resources, with market forces and internal governance simultaneously influencing state-owned enterprises' innovation patterns. In many state-owned enterprises, managers apply the technical innovation audit tool for benchmarking, thereby improving their ability to choose among different types of innovation mechanisms. Due to the influence of the two main stakeholders, namely government and the end users, firms with a higher degree of government involvement and a correspondingly lower degree of openness to the market exhibit a more widespread use of innovation mechanisms, thereby apparently contradicting the positive relationship between market focus and innovativeness traditionally posited by Western innovation management theories. This phenomenon is due largely to strong government interference in SOE's behavior. In a context of relatively weak IPR protection, the government puts a paramount emphasis on long-term investments and makes a great effort to promote technological innovations, targeting them as important indicators of SOE performance and awarding resources to state-owned enterprises accordingly. State-owned enterprises rely more on government-allocated resources and therefore tend to perform better in areas that are encouraged by the government, such as new product development. As new product output is an important indicator of SOE performance, SOEs are incentivized to operate at the frontier of new product development. In our view, in spite of the relevance of static inefficiencies and distortions, SOEs' distorted behavior in the static sense can be associated with dynamic advantages in terms of innovative capacity and technological progress, with major spillovers benefiting the national economy as a whole. One also needs to take into account the existence of virtuous synergies with the non-state-owned sector, something that I have studied empirically as well. Notwithstanding China's augmented national innovation systems' remarkable strengths, remaining challenges are formidable. For instance, one Chinese economist, Wang, identifies a dualistic pattern in China's technological development, with its export-oriented segments of the economy being relatively isolated from those producing mainly for the domestic market. Others stress the weight of constraints such as an insufficiently developed institutional framework, relatively low overall educational attainments, the lack of a large pool of world-class talents, the embryonic stage of indigenous innovation capacity, and insufficiently developed linkages between R&D and industrial enterprises. Other researchers point towards China's persistent weaknesses in technological cooperation between universities and industry, the inadequate integration of the country's augmented national innovation system into global innovation networks, and the need to develop a comprehensive, more refined, technological strategy in order to achieve effective technology transfer from foreign technological leaders, while at the same time maintaining an appropriate balance between indigenous innovations and technology imports. Without being exhaustive, I may mention one last feature of the still evolving Chinese Augmented National Innovation System. Since the beginning of the new regime in the 21st century, the increasing social and political tensions which inevitably accompany worsening income distribution have been noted carefully. The worsening distributional situation sets China apart from the other East Asian latecomer innovators. The new regime seems committed to changing the distributional picture and managing social and political tensions effectively. The overall macroeconomic and innovation policies are influenced by these goals. Apart from the already developed Augmented National Innovation System of Japan, the region's other players with strong capabilities for developing Augmented National Innovation System are India, Korea, Taiwan, Singapore, Malaysia, Thailand, the Philippines, and Indonesia. Vietnam is at a lower stage of development, but can potentially develop its Augmented National Innovation System integrated with the Asia-Pacific Regional Innovation System soon. I have carried out a number of studies on many of these countries, and we can conclude both from the Chinese case study and these other Asian examples a few things. Although, I must hasten to say, it is too early to draw definitive conclusions from this brief lecture and the work that I have done. I will draw the following tentative conclusions. First of all, the development of national innovation system in specific countries has led to a deeper integration in the region through the input-output structures of the innovating sectors. Through a policy of strategic openness, this can be further strengthened. Secondly, the combination of innovation system building and cooperative regional infrastructure projects can lead to a greater economic set of benefits and an understanding of gains from regional cooperation in the Asia-Pacific region. Here, using the huge surplus of foreign reserves built up by some Asian countries can be utilized to create regional public goods. Finally, the incipient forms of cooperation in specific sectors, for example, in energy between China and Japan, ICT between several Southeast Asian countries, etc., can also lead to deeper forms of integration. However, much more of an effort needs to be made here. Political mistrust and diverse issue linkages need to be tackled skillfully with patience and determination by all the parties involved. Here too, the Augmented National Innovation Systems approach can be beneficial at the regional level by delivering enhanced well-being through innovation for all the people. Therefore, to conclude, we note that the technological pace of innovation in the region is quite rapid. However, in the advanced countries, this pace is driven by expected profit outlook, which may vary over time. This is why strategic alliances between companies at the research and development phases may be beneficial. At the same time, given the need for competition to enhance both productive efficiency and consumer welfare, there has to be a clear distinction between a pre-competitive R&D phase and a more competitive production and marketing phase. However, as the work in this area increasingly shows, this virtuous cycle of diffusion and welfare increase is not occurring for all the economies of the global and the regional system. Particularly, the poor countries are being left far behind, thus increasing the technological divide. The fruits of globalization in innovation are indeed very unevenly distributed. This uneven distribution can be avoided in Asia by building upon its previous national development strategies and extending these towards building an augmented regional innovation system. More than any other region of the global economy, this looms as a feasible future for the Asia Pacific. The countries that are falling behind themselves need to adopt a policy of strategic integration by inviting foreign technology and enabling pre-competitive research and development through state incubators. In addition, wherever possible, supportive infrastructure, both hard and soft, must be built through active public-private collaboration. Finally, the states of these economies of the global south can build regional cooperation around a few leading regional actors. I have argued here that Japan, Korea, China, Singapore, Malaysia, and India can play such roles in Northeast, South, and Southeast Asia. Thank you.